All right, guys, we are here to wrap up our last unit for the probability unit, or last section of the probability unit, I should say. My class, it's page 51. If you're having trouble finding it, we've been working on independent and dependent, so if you find independent, it's directly across from that. So I'll give everybody a chance to turn to that page, making predictions. If you need to pause the video, go ahead. All right, so the good thing is predictions is not really anything new. Predictions is using proportions. So let's fill out these notes first. Probability can be used to make predictions for future, obviously that's what predict means, occurrences, okay? Setting up and solving a proportion. Remember, this is what a proportion is. On a proportion, you also have numbers, and then you're going to be given a letter, X, okay? You're solving for some missing piece, okay? So for example, the probability of rolling a 6 is 1/6. If it is rolled 50 times, approximately how many times will a 6 happen? Now, approximate means we can kind of round, we can kind of estimate. So let's see. I'm actually going to change this just because I don't want our first problem to be weird. So I'm going to change it to 60. So go ahead and change that in your book. Okay. So the probability is 1/6. So I always write the probability first. Remember that number on the bottom is going to be your total. Okay. So your total always goes on bottom. Now it says you're going to roll it 60 times. Okay. So I didn't land on a 6 times. I am rolling it 60 times, so that 60 goes on bottom, and that's what my X is, okay? And this was a 6, okay? I'm trying to roll a 6. So now I'm just going back to those proportions where I look for a shortcut. That's times 10. That's also times 10, so my answer is 10 times, okay? Don't leave it as a fraction and try to simplify it because that's going to get you the wrong answer. Put an X there. That way you know, oh yeah, I just did it. I solved for X. Okay. So predictions, you're not going to get a fraction as an answer. You're going to get a number. Okay. You're looking for an actual number, not a fraction. Okay. Kinsley surveyed a random group of 7th graders as to whether they preferred video games, sports, or neither. Here is the survey. Okay. So we have data. The first thing you always want to do when you have data is find the total, okay? Whether it's an experiment, whether it's just data, you want the total, okay? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0, carry the 1, 2, 3, 4. My total is 40, okay? Always getting that total first. Now it says, what is a reasonable prediction? So again, prediction means proportion for video games. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is look at my data and figure out video games. Okay, video games, VG. Remember that total is always on bottom. Okay, 40 is my total. Video games right here is 15. Right? If we were doing probability, you would just simplify, but we're not doing probability. We're trying to find out how many students. Now in the top, it told me there were 350 students who were surveyed. So that 350 is going on the bottom because that's my total. And I know that X goes here because I'm trying to predict the number of students, okay, which is X. All right, I cannot get from 40 to 350. I don't know my 40s well enough, but I can simplify 15 over 40. Simplify means to divide. I can divide by 5, and I get 3/8. Okay, I still don't know my 8s well enough to get to 35, so this is where we go back to that algebra stuff. Okay, yes, you can use a calculator, but you've got to know the algebra. So 8x, and then this is 3 times 350, so equals 350 times 3. And yes, I'm going to use a calculator too. 350 times 3 gives me 1,050. And then 8 is hanging out with my X, and I'm like, hey, get away from my X. So it's multiplying, so I'm going to divide. Divide by 8, and I get 131.25. Well, obviously you can't have a decimal of a person, so you could just round it to be 131, or you could leave it as 131.25. So it's going to be about 131. Okay. When it says a reasonable prediction, that means you can estimate a little bit. Okay. All right, next question. Based on the information, what's the most reasonable prediction for video games for the next 80 votes? Okay. You're going to have a question just like this on the test. Okay. So first, I need to look at my data. Video games, 15. Again, it's always going over total. 15 over 40. Okay. Now, the question says, how many video games? So I know that's where my X goes because I don't know the video games. And it tells me out of the next 80 votes. So 80 goes on bottom. Okay. Now, hopefully, you see a nice, easy shortcut because I do. Times 2. So up top is also times 2. So it is 30. Okay. If you didn't see a shortcut, you could have simplified by 5. And then you would have got 3 8s, and then times 10 and times 10. If you didn't see that, you could still cross multiply. And if you're using a calculator and you want to do that, go ahead. But really, the shortcuts and the simplifying are really, really good practice. So it would be best if you could try to practice that. Okay? All right. When you send mail via the post office, you have an 80% chance that it's delivered to the correct location. That is crazy town to me. If I'm sending something important, there's only an 80% chance that it's going to make it. All right, there are 430 letters delivered on Monday. What is a reasonable prediction that they are delivered to the incorrect location? So this one I've got to think, okay? Again, I know prediction means proportion. The question is looking for incorrect, so I'm going to write incorrect over total. So it tells me that 80% are delivered to the correct. So I know that percents are always out of 100. And if 80% are correct, then I subtract to find out 20% are not correct. So I'm going to put a 20 here. And it's been a long time since we've done percent bars, but I'm going to put it over 100 because I know that percent always goes with 100. Okay, so 20 over 100. Now it says there are 430 letters that were delivered. Okay, so 430 goes on the bottom. I want to know how many were delivered incorrectly, so that's where my X goes. Okay, setting it up is the hardest part, making sure that you put the right words and the right numbers together. Okay, now you want to look for that shortcut. I can't get from 100 to 430, but I can get from 20 to 100 by times 5. On the opposite side, I can do divide by 5. 430 divided by 5 is 86. Okay, so 86 pieces of mail were incorrect on Monday. All right, on Tuesday, 500 letters were delivered to the correct location. Okay, so this time they give me correct. Okay, and remember it's always over total. So the correct probability is 80%. And it tells me 500 are correct. So I don't put 500 on bottom because it would be nice and easy to do that, but 500 goes with correct, so I have to put 500 with correct. All right, I look for a shortcut. 80 to 100, no. 80 to 500, no. But I can simplify. I can mark off these zeros. So 8 to 10, no. 8 to 500, no. I'm going to cross multiply now. Okay, so 500 times 10 equals 8x. Okay, remember we marked those zeros off, so we want to make sure not to use those. Okay, so this is 5,000 equals 8x. And again, that 8 is hanging out with my x, and I don't want anybody with my x, so I'm going to divide by 8. So 5,000 divided by 8 is 625, which is my answer. Okay? So we're doing one little piece at a time. Okay? Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't rush. One little piece at a time. Okay? Now, really quick, if you turn back to the title page of this unit, it's called probability. Turn to page 42. If you're in my class, we have them labeled. If not, just turn to the word probability. It's like 5 or 6 pages back. It looks like this, probability. Okay? I want you to write that predictions equal proportions, and that percent means out of 100. Okay? Go ahead and do that for me really quick. We're going to walk through just a few more because I want you to feel comfortable before I let you go. Okay? All right. So I'm just going to read a question to you. It says, suppose you flip a coin 10,000 times. What is a reasonable prediction that you're going to land on heads? Okay? So I'm going to think about it. I want my coin to land on heads, and it's going to be over total. So I have to think about a coin. On a coin, what are the chances I get heads? 1 out of 2. Heads is 1, total is 2. Now the question said I am flipping it 10,000 times. So that is the total. And hopefully in this question you were like, I already know the answer. The answer is 5,000 because I'm just dividing by 2. Okay? If you didn't know, that's okay. All right? This is times 2. Now remember, we're going the opposite direction. So it's divide by 2. And that's how I get 5,000. Okay? So just being careful, writing those words, setting up your proportion. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's see. A container has 8 red beads, 6 yellow, and 8 green beads. So let's write that down. We have 8 red. We have 6 yellow. And 6 green. Okay? These are the beads that I have. A bead will be drawn from the basket and replaced 60 times. What is the prediction? For it to be red or green. So first thing I need to do, I'm looking for red or green. Whoops. And I'm always putting it over the total. Okay? So red or green. So there's 8 red, 6 green. How many are red or green? If you said 14, that is correct. Okay? And then we also need the total. What is the total? Awesome. If you said 20, you are correct. Okay? So again, that number, these numbers came from the data right here. Okay? Now let me read the question again. It says, what is the probability? Oh, it is a bead is drawn from the basket and put back 60 times. So 60 is the total. What's a reasonable prediction for green or red? So 60 is my total. X goes on top. I see a nice easy shortcut, which makes my life nice. Times 3. Times 3. And this is going to be 42. Okay? So again, remember, total goes on the bottom. Make sure you have all the numbers that you need. And then try to simplify, try to look for a shortcut. Okay? Let's do another one. On a subway, 8 out of 11 people are carrying a briefcase. If there are 700 people, how many do not have a briefcase? So I don't have enough room, so I'm going to move up here. So it said 8 out of 11 have a briefcase. Okay? But the question wanted to know how many do not. So it's going to be not over total. So I already know the total is 11. But it says 8 have. So if 8 have them, then that means 3 do not, because I subtracted. Okay. Now the other number I have is 700. It says if there are 700 people, so 700 is the total, and then X. Okay. All right, I can't get from 3 to 11, can't get from 11 to 700, so I got to do old school algebra. Here we go. 11x equals 700 times 3. 11x equals 2100. And then I want to get that x away from my number. So 11, got to go. Sorry, sir, ma'am, whatever. X equals 190.90 repeating. But it says estimate, so I can just round that to 191. Make sure you have this written down because you might see this exact question on your homework in a few minutes. Hint, hint, hint. You might see it. Okay? All right, last one. I'm going to do a percentage. Okay? If you got an 85% on your test and there were 20 questions, I want to know how many questions you got correct. Okay? So I want to know, this is the total. I want to know the number you got correct. So I'm going to put correct over total. 85% is the correct percent. And percent always, always, always means out of 100. Okay? Now my other part of the question says there were 20 questions, which is the total. And I said predict how many questions you got correct. Okay? So I don't see a shortcut here, but I do see a shortcut here, which is divide by 5. So this one is also nice. Divide by 5. 85 divided by 5 is 17. So that means I got 17 questions correct. Okay? Super easy. We've been doing this for a long time. Okay? You're just setting up your proportions. So we're still using probability, but we're using those probabilities to make a prediction. Okay? This page 42 is going to be helpful. Also, that page 51. Okay? Those are the 2 pages that you're going to need to help you to do today's assignment. Okay? This is the last part of probability. Next time we meet, we will be doing review. We'll have a quizzes. I'm also going to make a little deck toys because we haven't done that in a while. So you'll have an assignment in Schoology. Make sure that you write your what? Proportion. And what always goes on the bottom? Total. And what is percent always out of? 100. And what's the best class? Math. All right. Have a good one.